Hi everyone, thanks for watching. In this video, I want to talk a little bit about the background of the AI Word Overuse Explorer and the science behind it. So you see the Explorer is still in the beta stage, and maybe once I get a release candidate, I also update the video accordingly. Now, the background. Many of you will have seen this, will have heard of this already, that after the release of ChatGPT in late 2022, people have noticed in 2023 that there has been a massive disruption in some domains of writing, among them scientific English, academic writing, scientific English, that in scientific papers the usage of certain words has suddenly been going through the roof. And you see here a few examples. So delve was a lot on social media, but really tapestry, realm, intricate, showcase, surpass, and so forth. Showcase, surpass. And what we've been seeing is these words have been stable for decades in use, here relative frequency, and then really had this sudden spike. Now, this is hard to explain with normal language change, and people were quick to hypothesize, okay, this is due to AI. And this is plausible, I think. At the same time, this is with Zina Ward, also here at FSU, we've been saying, okay, but we can't just assume it's AI. What we want is, we also want to show that AI overuses these words. And the reason for that is because there are other spikes that are actually motivated by real world events, so to speak, plausible human spikes. Examples include Omicron, that was very low in usage and then had a sudden spike and then went back down. But this is apparently what we're seeing for delve. And delve had this massive spike, and apparently there's a pushback now. Other words are Turkey, which had a real world event, has seen a spike in usage that continues. That there's no collapse in usage. It continues to be used. That is something that we are seeing for some of the AI words. So what we need is, we need to be able to distinguish between a spike that is due to AI usage and a spike that is due to real world events. Right? Basically true, positive, false, positive. And just going through a list of entries that have spiked and saying manually, oh, this is due to AI, this is something else. Well, first, in science, we want replication, right? So we want something that can be replicated. If we go through the same list twice, we want the same result. Second, this is a lot of manual work. So that doesn't scale if, for example, what we wanted to do in one of our other projects, and what we also have here in the AI Word Overuse Explorer, that you see we look at many different languages. So you go to GPT-4.1, you see it's on the news domain, and you can select many different languages, and how AI overuses words in these languages. And that is, it starts with that. It would take native speakers of all these languages to go through these lists. So it's not really practical. So we need something else. And that something else that starts with what I call the continuation approach, which is the following, that we take a bit of human writing, and we make a cut. somewhere, we cut it in half. We get a second half, a continuation, which I can show you. I prepared this on a scientific abstract because this is what we do on in one of our projects. We take PubMed, the scientific articles, as the database. We look at scientific abstracts, and then what we do is we cut abstracts into halves. Say here, first half roughly yellow, second half in pink. The second halves, real human halves, gives us a data set of exactly that, human continuations. The first half, we take that as the input for an AI model to continue. So we have a system prompt, we have a user prompt, and then we say like continue the scientific abstract, and then we give the first half and the model continues that. And so what we get is we get a data set, a corpus of AI continuations. And now what we then nicely have is we have human continuations and we have AI continuations. And the really nice thing about this is that there is a moment of topic control. So the abstract talks about quantum physics, the AI continuation is about quantum physics, and so is the human continuation is about quantum physics, and so is the AI continuation. And so this takes us a long way. We do this at scale. This takes us a long way. Now, there are issues. So if we take that approach and we just do a count of frequencies, then there's one edge-ish case, which is actually, let me talk about an example that really occurred. So we had a human first half that talked about some topic. It includes discussion of radar, and the AI plausibly continued on radar. Well, for some reasons, humans dropped that word. So in the human writing, and I think it concerned 2 abstracts, but of course we look at tens, hundreds of thousands of abstracts. This will almost certainly happen, just like it happened to radar. Say 2-3 papers, humans talk about a certain word in the first half, but not in the second. AI continues to talk about it, and then in our list we suddenly get spikes. Radar spikes, but radar is not a per se AI overused word, so we have a false positive here that we want to be able to fix. So now the way we approached it was that we said, okay, we got to move away from the question how many times has a word occurred to the question has it occurred, yes or no. And in this binary check on the example, this takes us along almost the whole way, because now what we have is the human continuations like barely talk about radar, and previously say humans once or twice and AI for some reason like 13, 15 times. Now we get a low count for the AI as well because it's just 2-3 abstracts. And so we don't see a spike for radar here. While at the same time, words like consistent, showcase, nuanced, multifaceted, they are used across the board, just a few times, but across the board. So in this document prevalence approach, does it occur in a document? Yes, no. These words will still show up as spikes, and rightly so. And so now what we get is, we get lists where words like radar, they're not flagged as spikes anymore, but the words that we do want to see, they are still flagged as spikes. There is another issue with that approach, and this gets us to what you will have seen in the Explorer, as when it talks about window window, prevalence, which is that when AI produces the outputs, they tend to be more verbose than the human answers. So kind of they're chatty, and I'm sure many of you will have seen this, that the answers can be quite long. So what that means is that AI creates for any word, when we are asking, okay, does it occur? Yes, no. Say we're asking, does delve occur in this, or multifaceted? Yes, no. The AI gives these words more opportunity to occur. And so what will happen to these lists, that too much is flagged as overused. And the way to normalize this is to say, okay, we take this prevalence approach, but we're only looking at a fixed window of tokens. So for scientific abstracts, we looked at, I think it was 40. So say we take roughly, we take 40 words, tokens, roughly words, maybe roughly, maybe a little more, good enough. 40 words, and then within this window of tokens, we ask that question again. Does a word occur? Yes, no. And that way, when we do that for AI writing, we do that for human writing, we are finally at a point where we are comparing apples to apples. And then now the list that we get from this approach, what you're seeing here, nicely align with the literature. However, we do it without manual curation, and we're able to scale this to many models, many languages, many domains. Yeah, there are more technical details under the hood to make this more robust. So sometimes we get frequencies of zeros. We don't want to avoid in the calculations, avoid dividing by zero, so that we do some smoothing. Some languages, when we cut in half, they have contracted forms that require a certain context. So we deal with that too. And all these further technical details in the About page, and you can see it still has a placeholder for the video. In the About page, I give some references that contain further technical details. Right. I hope this gives you a better sense of the maths driving the Overuse Explorer. It's currently in beta stage. I'm working on adding more models and domains soon. I hope you're enjoying the product, and I hope the video was helpful. Thanks for watching.